great. So here we are. And in your piece that you wrote, I really appreciated that you were going to the how. Felt like
Mm-hmm.
of talking about going into those dark places, and I felt like you were elevating was sort of how to do that. Do you want to say some
Hmm.
more about that?
Well, I feel like for me, a huge part of my work, both my own sort of inner work, like how I work, and also my work with other people, really is about presence and about embodied practice,
Mm-hmm.
and um, so absolutely, those to me immediately get to how,
Mm-hmm.
and I think especially singing and prayer leading we can kind of fool ourselves, and I think our culture helps us with this, to fool ourselves into thinking that those are not physical practices.
Right.
Um, and what's been most helpful to me in some ways is to embody them and to really view them the way I would view other physical practices. And I think, from that perspective, what's so wonderful to me about it is that they're really integrative practices, right? Like they're physical practices, but they're not the kind of physical practice where you're trying to sort of forget what's going on in your head, or
Mm-hmm.
kind of use the body to get away from the mind, right? Like they're
Mm-hmm.
very much integrative. And I think, the other thing that's then helpful for me about that is that, it can also be a reminder that just being is a physical, right? The
Mm-hmm.
breathing is a
Yeah.
physical practice. So somehow the thinking of it as a physical practice to me then makes it more concrete, more literally tangible, and that there's an accessibility there, um, with like sort of the huge caveat that assumes that our own bodies are accessible to us, and that we're willing to be with our own bodies,
Right.
which
Which for many
of
people
course,
takes a lot of work.
yeah, yeah,
And it takes that intentional practice. I mean, I think
yeah,
I know that you do that through singing, and I know that I was a movement person. That's my
yeah.
background. So the way to do that through movement, and for a lot of people, I think they do it through sitting meditation, through davening, but sort of bringing the intentionality that this is a way not just to reach good feeling places, not just to go for ecstatic or joy or high, which is great too, but
Mm-hmm.
also to use those practices as a way to touch into the places that are scary.
Yeah, yeah, actually.
Mm.
So I think there's also, right, that, and also that it can be so easy, that what was so helpful, I thought, about what you wrote was just to kind of, sort of say, well, what's the option that's not running away?
Right, right. What would that look like?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and then to find some help going there. I mean, I think that Carney's point about, being mindful of folks who can, and all of us who can get stuck in the places that are dark and stuck. And that's not what we're looking
right,
for, right? And that
right,
the piece you brought is sort of the intentional practices that can allow you to do that work
right. Yeah. I think the
safely.
other piece that feels important to me also about kind of the accessibility of the body piece of it is that, I almost feel like, and it's certainly taken me a long time to see it this way, but I almost feel, like I've been blessed with a body that society wants to tell me how imperfect it is,
Yes.
and that, and so many of us have, like, there's nothing particularly special about that, um, but that, um, but that to already sort of be able to take from that, oh, if I have this body that, that everyone around me seems to think is diseased, or is, morally questionable, or like all of the other assumptions that people make about my body. And of course, in the video, people won't really be able to see very much of my body, but it's mostly just a large body.
Uh-huh.
And and that somehow, being able to be accepting of that then means that I already know that that imperfection in the eyes of others doesn't have to be an impediment to fullness and wholeness in life.
Yes.
And so that feels like a huge gift, really. That also, in terms of helping others, feels like part of, it's been a gift to me, but also a gift that I can then give to others, right? That I don't have a body that I could pretend was perfect. And so I think part of why people do a lot of escaping kinds of things is because there's sort of this imagining that we could sort of like, well, if I put my makeup on right, or whatever, right, that people will sort of feel that they're able to create an uncracked bell to ring, but that somehow not having the option of that illusion. I really, at this point in my life, experience it as a blessing. I really do.
And that's and for so many, that's a radical notion, and I think it really is a gift that you literally embody fully in your presence and in your words about it, how you articulate. And I know because I've been aware of you in the past that this has been a part of your journey. And I just want to appreciate that it is a gift for all of us, the kind of work that you've done to articulate that and to own that. So I very much appreciate that.
Yeah.